Hey, welcome back. And I'm so excited because we have such a great guest with us. We have Steve Nudelberg, my friend, author, podcaster, business development guy. What else do you do, Steve?
You know what? The world is so great that I could do whatever I want to do.
That's right.
Isn't that awesome?
It is awesome. Steve is going to be our keynote speaker at our expo coming up in May. For Transworld, our international expo. So we're so happy to have Steve. I've heard him speak before. I read his book, and it's so great to have him on because we just talk about business and we get it, right?
Yeah, listen, the power of what we're doing right here, podcasting, is really people having relevant dialogue that they get to share at scale. There's, lots of people are going to listen to this, and the value proposition is it's not BS. We're delivering real value. And I know lots of people who live their lives now by the certain podcasts that they do. And you could do it while you're driving and while you're running. And, so it's, for people who are interested in learning, there's so many outlets. And, I've been listening to yours and you've been on mine.
Absolutely.
And it's just fantastic. If you stick to the fact that you have something to share, which you do, and you and I totally enjoy the time we get to spend, even when it's not in front of a microphone. I enjoy those conversations. Now other people get to listen in.
Yeah, it's great. So we were just talking about what we wanted to talk about because we could talk about all kinds of things with Steve. But you were talking about the thing that's really resonating with people is personal branding, right?
Here's where I travel around the country and people understand what a brand is. Transworld is a brand. McDonald's is a brand. When I talk about personal branding, a lot of people get like, what do you mean? And so it's everything that you are, the way you speak, what you wear or don't wear.
Right.
All of those things make up and create an emotion in somebody else. So brands live in somebody else's minds. If I said fast food hamburgers, most people would say McDonald's, not because McDonald's says that. It's just because that's what it lives inside of most people. Same thing with overnight delivery. They might say FedEx. Well, what emotion are you delivering to people before and after you're in front of them? That's what personal branding is. And so people who don't know, then you're allowing somebody else to create that. And so this concentration on people by people by people that they know, like, and trust, you can control who you are, what messaging you're putting out there. And by doing so, and I've certainly done it for myself and I coach lots of people to do it, the decision about what I do for a living comes in the background, not the foreground. I'm not showing up and spitting out everything I do for a living. This is who I am. This is what and it's so different. It's so liberating. It's really fantastic. And so it's great to see more and more people do it. Once you have established your brand, there's so many broadcast channels for you to tell people about it. Podcasting is one. Certainly social media is one. LinkedIn is the number one marketplace to take your personal brand and share it with other people. And it's not a place to talk about price, product, service. It's who you are, and that people have a hard time answering, what are you? You're much more than Transworld.
Right.
You always have been.
Right.
I like you. I enjoy being around you. You're smart. You're fun to be with. You're a kick-ass guitar player. You're very philanthropic.
Right.
Look at all the adjectives I can talk about you long before I get to, he's the CEO of a really cool real estate, business advisor company. So I think people have a hard time recognizing it, but when they do, it becomes what they sell more than the product and the commodity that they're talking about.
Right. So we'd like to give some people some practical advice to walk away with, and your book. I mean, mention the name of your book again and where they could get it. It's
Confessions of a Serial Salesman. It's available all over, the internet, my website, which is nudelberg.com. And it's basically 27 rules for leaders and influencers. And I'm a process-driven guy. If you look at great teams and great leaders, they are process-driven. It's not anarchy. And this is my process of how I've achieved, great sales success in my career. I love it.
Right. So if we're going to give people who are just starting out, and we were just talking to your son, who's thinking about changing careers.
Right.
I don't know if I should say that on the air, but
Of course you can.
but he's thinking about taking his next step in his life and changing careers. And if he were to land, and he's going to land in a different community than he was in for the last few years, what's the first thing that someone does? Or someone buys a business, right? They buy a business and they're not in the same career they used to be in. So what do they do? What's kind of like the first step?
That's a really good question. And I think most people are programmed to look at advertising as the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to broadcast that I'm here. And what social media has done is give us broadcast channels that we can use the people we know to inform the people we don't know.
Yeah, I think it's been an incredible opportunity for small entrepreneurs to get. Yeah, I mean, just think about all the people that have been able to launch their business or grow their business basically almost free of charge.
So here's what I love. There is a big amount of work that goes into being successful at anything.
Sure.
I think this society is programmed to, what pill am I going to take? How fast can I charge that? I want it overnight. There's no silver bullet. It is hard work. The tactics have changed. So instead of necessarily just putting a flyer out there, well, I have many more channels in which I can reach people, like a podcast.
Right.
That is, we're not pitching anything here. We're just talking about things that can affect the small business owner. So the same things that people used to do, they can do in different ways. So, a lot of times I'll stand up in front of an audience of small to medium-sized businesses or salespeople, and I'll say, is it easier or harder to be in sales or in business today? And inevitably, most people say it's harder. And I challenge them that we live in a world of unprecedented access. I can get to anybody in the world, basically, with one click.
Right.
And when you show people how to do that in a relevant way, not in not interrupting them, marketing that is interrupting me doesn't work anymore. I'm very controversial when I talk about cold calling. I don't think cold calling is an effective method of using the phone. Still think the phone is really powerful, but my calls, and when I do speak to somebody, I know a lot more about them. And most of the time I've been referred in by somebody I already know, which is what all social media does. It creates tribes of people that, you can meet in a different way. And when you perfect that, it becomes incredibly intoxicating. And I just think that there's an intimidation point. There are people who go like, I don't really understand it, especially LinkedIn. I'll ask people, how many, people in the room are on LinkedIn? Just about everybody will raise their hand. Then I go, how many people actually know how to use it? And 3 or 4 people do it. And the idea that the best business development tool is right in front of us, and people are not investing their time and energy to learn it and make it work for them, is fascinating to me. But the ones who do, they see the results. And the one thing about every single business is it comes down to people.
Yeah. I mean,
it's so simple.
It's so funny. A lot of people approach me, right? I have 10,000 followers on or
Look at
connections on LinkedIn. That's and I've worked at it. And I want good connections. And so of course, when you connect with people, some of them just go for the hard sell right away. Hey, this is what I do. Can I schedule an appointment with you? And I'm like, no, but if they have something relevant to say and they said, hey, I've worked with a lot of business brokerage companies before. We've been able to get them leads. I think I could give you an insight. Hey, I'm probably going to say yes.
So let me ask you this. If I were to try and connect to you on your passion for music, how would that resonate with you? Probably very high.
Yeah, of course.
And at some point, we would get to the point with, well, what do you actually do for a living? Oh, you do that? Oh, you know what? We should probably have a conversation about that. The process is very different. You can connect with like-minded people about the things that you share in common. And then the fallback of that is, well, I really like you. Now I know you. Is there a way that we could do business together?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we do that all the time. Listen,
Correct.
I'm on a lot of charitable boards, and we work with these people side by side trying to solve the society's ills.
And you probably more than most.
Right. And and you wind up getting to know people, and you're like, wow, that person can perhaps fit me, or I want to do business with that person over the person that I don't even know.
That's exactly right.
And and we do that all the time. And I've certainly got business from doing charitable things. And we're going to talk about that in another episode.
Well, one of the rules in my book, just while you're on it, rule 27 is give to get. I think most salespeople are programmed, business people are go get the business, go get the appointment, go get all that. Well, if you have something to offer somebody ahead of time that's not related to your business, like, hey, I know somebody that wants to potentially buy a business or sell a business, and I give that to you, no matter what I do for a living, you're going to pay attention.
Right.
Because most of your vendors are not doing that.
Right. And when somebody comes to me to sell a business or talk about selling a business, my first, and their first question is, how much does it cost? I'm like, don't even go there.
Right.
Back up, and I try to disarm people right away because I don't need your business. I mean, we're busy, but here's what I'm going to do. Let's sit down. Let's talk about what your goals are in a very genuine way.
Yes.
And then if it works,
seems logical, doesn't it?
If we're going to do business together, it'd be great.
Would you walk into the doctor or be okay if you walked into a doctor's appointment and they said, thanks for coming, Andy, you need penicillin? Of course not. You can't make a diagnosis or make a recommendation until you've learned much more about the people, about what they want, what they need. All of those things make logical sense. But in the sales process, people go and circumvent it. I had somebody mention this to me the other day. When it's very much like Tinder for business. You're just connecting, or Match.com for business. You're connecting with people.
Yeah, Match might have been the better.
Right. Yeah.
Than Tinder.
Well, when people, get to you right up front and pitch you, that's like Tinder. It's like, whoa, back up.
It's like, whoa, back up.
Like, didn't you miss
coffee first, right?
Did you miss a couple of steps here? So it's, a lot of what I've done and what I write about is very practical ways to build relationships, not to necessarily build sales. If you build enough quality relationships, the sales will come. And so I think that's where people go wrong, is they're looking to transact instead of create relationships. And I think we'd live in a better world if people just manage their relationships better. And then ultimately,
So it's about creating quality relationships. It's about being genuine. It sounds like it's being, listen, I believe in my product. I truly believe that anybody who comes to Transworld has their business in the best place to sell their business. So I could look at people, straight in the eye and believe that, hey, this is the place for you. And I've certainly told people this isn't the place for you. I mean, I've had people, come to me with, ideas that, no, we just don't do that. We don't raise capital.
Which being able to say no to people is a real gift. I mean, there's a lot of power in saying, and I write about it in my book. I give people the 3 best words in sales. Number 1 is nobody likes to go on an appointment or have meetings. I change that language to visits. Hey, Andy, when can I come by and visit? The purpose for my visit
that's great.
Is I want to see if we're a fit, because guess what? We might not be a fit, and that's okay. Boom, the big elephant's out of the room. It's okay.
Right.
You know what? I'll make a decision just as much as you make a decision.
Right.
And if you can decide where you are a fit, then I can provide value to you the same way I do to, and I use 3 pieces of social credibility, and I use you all the time. We've done business together.
Sure.
So don't take my word for it. Ask Andy. And they'll go, wow, I know Andy. Oh, okay, cool. So by little language changes and understanding that people do see through when you're trying to sell them.
Right, of course.
It's like, come on, man, really?
Well, sometimes you just call yourself out and say, hey, listen,
come on.
I'm here to sell you at some point.
Well, absolutely. That's okay. I said, at what point can you do that, though? I think you need to earn the right to have that conversation, where a lot of people just jump in and so I'm very detail oriented in terms of how I manage relationships and at what point I'm willing to go and speak to them about, hey, maybe there's an opportunity I hear that you have a problem.
Right.
I think we could, at least have a conversation about how to resolve that problem.
So being a small business owner or buying a business, and they buy a business, and now they're gonna want to set out those relationships, and reading the book is a great way to understand the processes of doing that. But I think you said something earlier that kind of struck a chord with me that I talk about all the time. People would say, what made Transworld great, or, the biggest company of its kind in the industry. And it's like, it's not one thing.
No.
There's no magic bullet.
No.
It's a lot of work. It's doing a lot of things right.
Did you fail at anything that you tried?
Of course.
Of course, probably a lot.
Yeah.
So, it is all trial and error, and it's looking at things that work and sticking with them and eliminating, one of the things you learn from football, it's a game of adjustments. People go in the locker room at halftime, look at what's happened and say, you know what, this isn't working. Let's try this. And certainly the biggest example of that is when the Patriots won the Super Bowl,
right?
Against, when they played Atlanta. They made serious adjustments that Atlanta didn't. So understanding that the game is not static, it's changing all the time. You as a business person need to look at the clues that are happening around you, either make adjustments or find people who can help you make adjustments. And I think one of the places that I see people go wrong is thinking that just because they bought their own business, they have to be great at all of the things it takes to run that business.
Yeah, no, you definitely got to hire for your weaknesses.
Yes, compliment. Hey, I need help. I need a mentor. I need plenty of people willing to send the elevator back down, not necessarily for money either. There's plenty of information that's available. There's so many podcasts that you can plug in.
I think it was 600,000. I think
is
there was
that right?
number.
Is that the number?
It was some crazy number.
I
just wrote an article about it.
Did you? Wow. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I saw that somewhere.
Yeah.
Where did I see that? The my podcast I've done.
LinkedIn probably.
Right. You know what? It might have been LinkedIn. There was 50. I've done 57 shows. My commitment is that I will have other entrepreneurs like you. Your episode was great. Who will come on and share their story and say, listen, there's no straight roadmap to any of this stuff. And sometimes some of the things you learn point you in a completely other direction than you would have ever imagined. And I think when you listen to successful people, they have all overcome something, and that becomes part of their brand. How did you overcome it? What did you use? And that's the part I love, is listening and understanding that, everybody has a different roadmap. There's not, there's no simple way to do it.
Sure. And, and I've definitely, the other thing I see sometimes is people trying too hard, right? So they're trying to network, or they're trying, and I actually pulled someone aside on a charitable board once, and I said, you don't need to promote yourself here.
Yeah.
You don't.
It's bad when you do.
We'll all figure out. Don't worry. Everybody will figure out what you do. And if they see you do good, and they work beside you, and, we all roll up our sleeves and get things done, people will come to you. Don't overwork it.
Part of being great at anything is to be patient.
Sure.
And let it marinate. People who are considered experts, there's 10,000 plus hours worth of practice. I mean, you didn't just pick up the guitar and be great like you are.
Right.
You practice all the time.
No.
And so whatever it is you do in life, and it's interesting, one of my social media posts today on LinkedIn is that, you have to be okay sucking at something until you don't. Everybody, nobody I became a great baseball player. Alex Rodriguez wasn't great the minute he started, but he had a gift. He, worked on that gift, and, that's how you become great. And when you study and read and look at people who have done great things, they learn a lot and they take time to get better at it. So,
right.
That's the thing with social media. Everybody wants to jump in and go, well, I only got 2 likes. Who cares? Do it because it's a process to get to more people liking, commenting, sharing. And by the way, if you don't do it for other people, why would they do it for you?
Right.
And so if I could give the audience any recommendation, is to get engaged in social media, doing it first, giving it before you even do anything. Just find the people you like and comment on their stuff and link, like it, comment it, and engage with it, because that's what you want to happen to you. And the minute you do, that's where it gets viral. But it's a two-way street where most people think, I just got to keep posting and taking pictures. No, it's you have to give it before you get it.
Right.
Number 27. So
all right.
Here's the thing I tell people. For sure, social media works. Sometimes the people don't work.
It's great advice. So if there's one thing as we wrap this up, if you have one parting gift for everybody, what would the idea be?
Networking is only one letter away from not working. And what I mean is, most people look at networking as an event, and it is not an event. It's a lifestyle. I have some of the greatest relationships I have are because I was waiting at valet and I started a conversation with somebody that turned out to be a great friend, a great relationship, a great piece of business. I don't mind when I'm stuck in the airport. It's a captured audience that, I'm constantly engaging. One of the things I think it takes to be really good in business is to be insatiably curious. I just want to know. Not to sell, but I just want to know.
Right.
And that comes back at you. So
it does.
Understanding that every single person that's around you is 1 degree away from somebody who could be your biggest deal, get to work.
Awesome. Steve Nudelberg, thanks so much for coming on today. I really appreciate your friendship, and I appreciate your partnership. It's been a great ride.
I will see you when we speak in Orlando.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning into our show today. If you like the podcast, don't forget to subscribe through your favorite podcasting app and leave us a review. If you have questions or suggestions for the show, visit us at tworld/thedealboard or email us at thedealboard@tworld.com.